Today on Larry King Now, comedic actor Rob Riggle on his new film, Dumb and Dumber 2.
It was surreal. It was surreal that I'm actually in the scene with these two, with Harry and Lloyd, whistling down the highway in a hearse, talking about a fart game.
I'll ask him about his 22 years in the Marine Corps.
9/11 happened, and my unit was the only reserve unit in Manhattan. So when they closed the bridges and the tunnels on 9/11, and my unit was activated that night.
Plus, what's a guilty pleasure?
Listening to Avril Lavigne.
All next on Larry King Now. Actor Rob Riggle is our guest today on Larry King Now. He's been a shining comedic staple on the big and small screen for the last 15 years. Former Lieutenant Colonel of the U.S. Marine Corps, has starred alongside some of the biggest names in the business. His boisterous energy, impeccable comedy timing can most recently be seen alongside Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber 2. It's out in theaters November 14th, not T-O-W, not T-W-O-T-O.
Yes.
Well, you were a baby when the first one came out, right?
That's what I've been telling people, yes. I just had a moment. This was a really special, awesome moment to have Larry King introduce me like that. That was pretty cool.
You interviewed me on NFL.
That's right, we did that. That was a fun bit.
Now, we're taping this after the World Series, but Riggle is obviously a Kansas freak. He's Kansas City, University of Kansas, wherever. So we don't know who's going to win.
That's right. We don't know who's going to win yet. I'm hoping, I know there's a lot of people aren't, but a lot of people are actually, hoping that the Royals can pull it off.
I think America rooted for the Royals.
That's right.
Except for San Francisco.
Except for the one area up there in Northern California, I think.
Did you think the Royals would get far this year?
I did, actually. I didn't think I didn't know what they would do, but I thought they would make the postseason. I really did. Because last year, we were threatening in September.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was at some of those games in late September, and I felt the fever, and I've got to meet some of the guys. I went to spring training and spent time with them.
Well, you're a freak. Right?
Yeah, well, I like them. I like the Royals. I love them.
I love it. I love baseball.
And I was at Game 6 in 1985.
Really?
As a very young, I think I was an 8th grader. And I was there, so I have special memories of them.
All right, here we go. What can we expect in the new movie?
A lot of dumb. A lot of dumm.
A lot of dumb.
Yeah.
They're older now. What age are they?
I don't even know if they talk too much about the age. Because they're back as Harry and Lloyd. The same haircuts, the same tooth, so they don't really talk too much about the time gap.
What are the Farrelly brothers like to work for?
Awesome. They're good guys, fun guys.
Are they
always
both
trying
funny?
to have fun. Yeah, they're both funny in their own ways. Peter's a little more out there, and Bobby's very dry. But they're both very funny, and they're always up for a bit. They're always screwing with you a little bit, so they keep you on your toes.
Jim Carrey's wacko all the time, right? He is.
He's awesome because he turns it on and off. Like when we'd sit down to have lunch, on the set, he's very normal. We're having great conversation, just talking about the world, talking about families and life, and then when he gets on set, he turns it on, and that's why he's one of the best.
And since that, Jeff Daniels has assumed a very serious career, and the newsroom, right? He's like,
oh yeah, well, the first time I saw Jeff, I think it was Terms of Endearment, So
yeah.
he does these. He's a wonderfully talented, properly trained actor. And I've got to spend time with him. He's a golfer. We played golf on the set, when we weren't filming, we'd go play golf. And he's an avid sports fan. He loves his Michigan. He loves his Detroit Lions and Tigers. And so.
Where'd you shoot?
We shot down in Atlanta. Yeah, that was my first day of filming.
Really?
First day of filming, I get into this hearse. We're in a hearse, and I'm sitting behind Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey as Harry and Lloyd. And I took a picture when they were looking out the car, because their hair is, his hair's out like this, and the other one's, and because it was surreal. It was surreal that I'm actually in the scene with these two, with Harry and Lloyd, whistling down the highway in a hearse, talking about a fart game. So.
And you played twins?
I play twins, yeah, in this movie.
What is your character?
One is Travis, who you just saw. He's kind of more of a crunchy granola, more of a, I don't know, in touch with the earth, wears flip-flops, if that tells you anything. And the other one is Captain Lippincott, his twin brother, who's the polar opposite of him. He's much more of a special forces Marine type.
Are they both dumb, or?
They're both, no, they're not dumb. They're they're probably a little dumb, but they're not well-intentioned.
Had you seen the original?
Of course. Oh my gosh, I've been quoting it for the last 20 years, so yeah.
Was there a lot of breakup scenes?
You mean where we cracked up? Yeah, there was definitely moments, especially when one of us, or Jim or Jeff, would try something, and that you didn't expect, because you do a scene 4 or 5 different times, and it's usually for camera. They're doing a close-up, now they're doing a mid-shot, now they're doing a long shot. So, but you're doing the same dialogue every time. But every now and then they'd come in, and just to keep you on your toes, they would hit you with something, and a lot of times they'd get you.
It's hip to spell T-O.
Yes.
Meaning the title is dumb. Up next, Rob on his 22 years in the Marine Corps, his time on The Daily Show, and more. Don't go away. Rob Riggle, our special guest, he is featured in Dumb and Dumber 2. Are you the only recently active veteran of the service who's also a comedian and been in movies? Can you think of someone else that parallels you?
Not really. I mean, well, I take Drew Carey was a Marine.
Correct.
Drew Carey was a Marine. So, and he's a great comedian. He didn't do a whole lot of film work. He was, but he had a monstrous TV career and is a prolific stand-up. So.
Were you active how many years?
I did 9 years active duty and then 14 in the reserve after that.
Did you fear being called up for Afghanistan or Iraq?
No, I never feared it. As a matter of fact, after 9/11, I left active duty in 2000 and went in the reserves. And I was in New York City, in Manhattan, pursuing comedy and doing reserve. And 9/11 happened, and my unit was the only reserve unit in Manhattan. So when they closed the bridges and the tunnels on 9/11, and my unit was activated that night on the 11th.
Wow.
So on the morning of I got a call on the night of the 11th saying, put on your utilities and report to ground zero tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll meet at such and such address, and then we'll go in there from there. So the next morning, September 12th, I was down at ground zero with my unit. We moved up to it was kind of by police plaza, one police plaza, and we moved in, and then we worked on the rubble piles. And I moved rubble by hand for 6 days, from the 12th to the 18th, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, just like ants going up a hill, because there were six stories of rubble, and they couldn't bring in heavy machinery because they were afraid of collapsing or cave-ins, and we didn't know if there were people still down there that might be alive. So for the first 6 days, it was still search and rescue. After 6 days, they determined that with the heat and the dehydration, no one would have survived at this point. So at 6 days, they declared it search and recovery, and that's when they brought in the heavy machinery. So we got off the rubble piles, but then I kept working down at one police plaza, coordinating military and civil.
How long?
I was down there until September 30th. And then that's when my orders ran out. They just gave, till the end of the month. Then I volunteered to go back on active duty because I was. And
you went back?
I did. I had a pretty high security clearance for my job, and I knew that they were going to be needing people. So I put my hand in the air, and it didn't take long.
Stayed how long?
A year.
All stateside?
No. CENTCOM, Central Command, called me up on November 11th.
Where'd you go?
Mazar-e Sharif, into the northern Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, I got my orders on November 10th, which is the Marine Corps birthday. I reported to CENTCOM on November 17th, and on November 30th, I was on a plane to Afghanistan. So about 20 days from the time I got my orders in New York till I got to Afghanistan.
Why do the Marines, more than any other service, remain Marines forever? Semper Corps,
I think it's because we're the smallest of all the branches. We're very small compared to the Army. The Army's 1 million. we're 100,000. You know, we're small, the few, the proud. So we're very small, and there's a real esprit de corps among Marines, a real brotherhood. We have the highest, I think, and I think it's actual true. We have the highest standards. We have the highest physical fitness standards. We have the highest standards for recruitment. So it's just a.
Are you a reserve now?
Nope, I retired. I actually am officially retired. So yeah, I retired last year.
Now, when you got out, came back from Afghanistan, then did you start when did you get all this?
Yeah, I got back from Afghanistan probably at the beginning of 2003. And I spent another year grinding it out in New York at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, UCB. And then Saturday Night Live gave me a shot, at least an audition.
What'd you do, 1 year there?
And I did 1 year, 2004, 2005, on SNL. And then
Jon Stewart.
And then I went from there to The Daily Show. Yeah. So then it was, and then that was a dream come true. It was really, actually, I feel very lucky because one of my biggest dreams was to get on Saturday Night Live. I did it. I got to do it. I was part of that. My picture's on the wall up there on, the 17th floor. So I was very happy that I got that check in the box. And then I got to go do what I consider the next thing that was a dream, a check in the box, which was getting to work on The Daily Show.
Having guested on that show a few times, that's the most fun.
Yeah.
To be a guest, and you got to go along with it,
Absolutely. Absolutely. and the more the more you go along, the more enjoyable it is.
You were a reporter, right?
That's right. I was one of the correspondents.
Now, that whole crew's pretty liberal. Are you too?
Yeah, I'm very, socially, yeah. Socially, I'm pretty liberal. Fiscally, I'm a little more conservative. But
how do the Marines accept that philosophy?
They have no problem with it at all. Because they generally don't ask, and they generally don't care.
just go fight.
Let's just go. You follow your orders, and we don't have a problem.
Do you are you politically active, or?
I care. I care. But I don't go out there and beat any drum.
You worry about the problem with veteran affairs?
Big time. And I've voiced my opinion on that on Facebook and Twitter and some things. But
what do you think?
I think that it is a huge bureaucracy that things can get lost in. And unfortunately, when I say things, I'm talking about veterans.
Sad.
Real human tragedies can unfold there. And when you have something that big, things get lost. Things, policies and money and what goes on. And there's no incentive for the doctors to do what they should be doing. And I don't want to say things that I don't know to be 100% fact, but I've heard stories, and they upset me greatly. So I want to see the veterans just treated well. That's all.
It's sad that we kind of forget those who served.
Sure.
It is
Especially
forgetting.
when you put your hand in the air. We have an all-volunteer force. So when you put your hand in the air and say, "I'll defend this country," and you get sent forward into a combat zone, even if you're in the rear, you're still in a combat zone. There really is no front line anymore. Those don't exist. So the combat can happen anywhere. And when you go and you put your hand in there, you volunteer, you go over, you put your life and limb on the line, and sometimes repeatedly, and then come home and nobody has the time for you, we can do better than that.
When we return, we'll look back at how Rob got his start and some of the hilarious movies that he's been a part of, but also talk about his love of the NFL. Don't go away. We're back with Rob Riggle. He's featured in Dumb and Dumber 2, which opens November 14th, and will go right through the roof, right? I mean,
I hope so.
Would you say this can't miss, I would say. Born in Kentucky, raised in Kansas, right?
That's right.
Big Jayhawk fan.
Yes. And alumni, Kansas alumni.
Are you big back home in Kansas?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this year I won Kansan of the Year.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, are you, by the way, were you always funny? Were you a comic in school?
Yeah, I wasn't a class clown, because a class clown to me was someone who interrupted class with stupid stuff. But I was actually voted most humorous of my senior class.
So were you funny in the Marines?
Yeah, no, actually I wasn't. I was not very funny in the Marines. Always because I was an officer. And I never wanted my Marines to think that I was some sort of squirrel who didn't take their lives or what we do very seriously. So I always kept those two worlds separate, among my fellow officers and, you know, behind closed doors, yeah, I was myself.
Did you do stand-up?
No, not until I got to New York. Not until I got to New York, and not until I was on The Daily Show. The first thing I did when I got to New York, I took a stand-up class because I'd never done it. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I took a stand-up class at the Comic Strip Live on the Upper East Side. And I hated it, because it was very traditional. He's a very traditional stand-up teacher. He was like 3 jokes per minute, set up, punch, and that's how we do business. And I was like, okay, I understand that, but I like Eddie Murphy Delirious, and I like Bill Cosby himself, you know, where they storytelling.
That's what I do.
And on
I
the
do
journey.
a lot of that.
Yeah, on the journey.
I've toured comedy tours. I've always worked conventions.
That's right.
I tell stories, though, not jokes.
And the stories, the journey of the stories, to me, was always way more entertaining. Now, not to say that I don't have an appreciation for 3 jokes per minute, but it wasn't my thing. So I was actually really depressed, and then I went down and saw the Upright Citizens Brigade. Amy Poehler, Matt Walsh, Matt Besser, Ian Roberts. They all came from Chicago, but they came out to New York to start their own theater. And they were my teachers. So Amy Poehler and Matt Walsh.
A lot of improv?
Oh, yeah. Love improv. That's long-form improv. I still do it here in L.A. at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater here in L.A. every Wednesday night, 9:30, a show called Facebook with Paul Scheer, Jack McBrayer, Rob Hubel, Seth Morris. And
the audience calls out bits?
What we do is it's called Facebook, and we solicit audience members to come up on stage. We bring up their Facebook profile up on a big screen. We look at their pictures, we look at their quotes, we look at some of the interactions they have, and we interview them based on their life, based on the pictures and everything, and then we do scenes based on their life.
Do you consider yourself comedian or comic actor?
Comic actor. Although it's tough. I've done it all. You know, I did stand-up for many years after improv, so I've done improv. I had a stand-up special on Comedy Central. You know, I used to tour doing stand-up in clubs and colleges, and I enjoyed it. And I think if you're going to be a comedian, you have to be a comedic actor, a stand-up, an improviser. I think you need to do all of it. But what I prefer, comic acting. Yeah.
Every comedian wants to do something serious sometime. Have you ever done a serious role?
Never anything that anyone's seen. When I was in New York, when I first moved there, I was down at the Upright Citizens Brigade, but I was also studying the method with Marcia Halfrecht at the Common Basis Theater, and I got into the Atlantic Theater Company, Mammoths, you know, and so I have a passion for it.
You did play.
And I study it, and I have a passion for it. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to do it. I did get to play a role in a movie this summer called Let's Be Cops with Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr., and it's a comedy. But my character was very sincere, very heroic, which normally I don't get to play. Normally I play a big, dumb jerk who's kind of a douche.
But you're always working.
Yes.
How'd you get the NFL gig?
I hosted the ESPYs in 2012, and right after that, Fox called and said, "Hey, Frank is, you know, he's done 9 years, he's ready to go, and we have an opening. Would you like to come do this?" And I'm a football fan, so I didn't.
You did me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we did. We did a great segment
that
together.
Was a funny bit.
Oh man, I still have people come up and ask me about that.
That was a great bit.
Yeah, for my money, because you do that one where you're like gravity. For my money, the C is where the action is. Love that.
The Chiefs are in a tough division, right?
Yes, I think toughest division in the AFC.
Is Denver the best team?
Probably.
In the NFL.
Ooh, right now, yeah. Right now, yes. As of this week, as of week 8 of this year.
Seattle's not the Seattle of old.
No, but they're still crazy dangerous. They're still very young, very potent, very powerful. They're a team to be reckoned with. They will make the playoffs. They will go deep. Whether or not they can pull off back-to-back, that's a whole other story.
Luck, the next great quarterback?
Yes, long term.
Super Bowl pick?
Ooh, that's tough. Right now, it's so I think it might be a surprise. I think it could be a shock. I think you could be looking at Broncos-Cardinals.
Could be Arizona.
Could be.
Coming up next, Rob will answer some of your social media questions, and we'll play a little game of If You Only Knew. Stay tuned. Dumb and Dumber 2 opens November 14th. Our guest is Rob Riggle. What project you have a role along with Robin Williams?
Yeah, there's a new movie we shot last year, but now I didn't get to work with Robin on that. I've worked with him on some other things, but he plays the voice of a dog in the movie. So, you know, he was doing mainly voiceover stuff. But it's Terry Jones from Monty Python wrote and directed this film, so it was an honor to get to work with him.
That's Simon Pegg?
Yeah, Simon Pegg and Kate Beckinsale, also wonderful actors and comedians, and so it was just a chance to go to London and make a movie with these people that I consider amazing and legends, so I jumped on it.
We have some social media. Kyle Shelton of Facebook. There seems to be several ex-Marines in show business, more so than other branches of the military. Are all Marines good actors?
Some people might say we're good liars. But no, yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of talent in the Marine Corps. Some of the funniest guys I've ever met were Marines.
When I lived in Virginia, I lived in the Prospect House, right over the Marine Memorial.
Oh, wow.
I used to do runs around the Marine Memorial every day. It's a great memorial.
It is a great memorial.
Alex Flores of Facebook. Will you be returning for 23 Jump Street?
If they'll have me, if they were making a 23, yes, I would love to be part of it.
Quick game of If You Only Knew.
Okay.
I throw questions at you.
All right.
First paying actor gig.
It was really Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
First paycheck.
First paycheck.
Which is harder, being a cast member on Saturday Night Live or a correspondent on the Daily Show?
Oh, they're both hard in different ways. Saturday Night Live.
A lot of pressure, isn't it?
A lot of pressure and a lot of, you got to watch your back a little bit. It's an interesting place to work.
Yeah, you hope you get on, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of competition.
They tear up bits sometimes, right?
Yeah. And, but, you know, look, I worked with some great people. I don't have a single regret from being there.
Remember the first girl you ever kissed?
Yes, I do. Oh, come on. Well, I was thinking, I had a girlfriend in 5th grade, but, and we played Truth or Dare, and we were supposed to kiss, but we were supposed to go behind a wall and kiss, and we both got back there and we chickened out. So actually, the first girl I kissed was Kim Hay.
Kim Hay?
Yeah.
You ever find out what happened to her?
No, I'm sure she's very happy somewhere, and her last name's probably not Hay anymore.
What's the best stadium to see a game?
The K, Kauffman Stadium, is one for baseball.
With the
football, come on, Arrowhead. Arrowhead is.
They're right next to each other.
They're right next to each other, and as it stands right now, subject to change later, but right now, Arrowhead is the loudest outdoor stadium in the world. Guinness record. We set at Monday night against the Patriots this year.
Someone in the business you looked up to when you were younger?
Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, are two names that jump to my mind. Bill Cosby, George Carlin. I think the first comedy album I ever owned was George Carlin, A Place for My Stuff. I can still quote the Speed Merchant 5000 and the Fart Retrieval League and all these wonderful things. That, you know, I mean, those are the best.
Someone you'd like to work with that you haven't worked with
Bill
yet?
Murray, Eddie Murphy. I would love to work with those guys.
What's a guilty pleasure?
What is a guilty pleasure? Listening to Avril Lavigne.
Catch a touchdown pass or hit a home run?
Hit a home run.
What's your second favorite branch of the military?
The Navy.
What do you like better, L.A. or New York?
Ooh, that's apples and oranges, literally. Big Apple and out here orange. I love them both for different reasons, but I have so many special memories of New York and Manhattan.
Well, 9/11 especially.
Sure. Well, 9/11, that was one of the most tragic ones. But, you know, when I got there, I was this young captain who did Marine Corps work during the day, and then every night I would go out and try and do comedy. And the struggle.
Were you recruiting?
No, I was doing public affairs work, public affairs. So I was, you know, clearing books and helping people make movies.
I want to go off topic here before we end.
Sure.
Where were you when 9/11 happened?
I was in my apartment, and I was watching it.
Not married?
No, I was married, and I called my wife because she worked down closer to downtown.
Oh.
And said, "What's going on? You know, are you seeing everything?" And yes. And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna come get you. I want to come get you." And she was on the phone with me and the first tower was burning, and I heard this tremendous scream. Everybody screamed, and because she had big bay windows, you know, floor-to-ceiling windows in her office, and I screamed, "What?" And she goes, "A plane just flew into the second tower." So she actually watched live the second plane fly-in. She wasn't watching it on TV. She watched the fly-in live. And all I heard was screaming. I was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" "Yes." So I said, "I'm coming to get you. Don't move." So I
Were you able to get down there?
Yeah, I was at 44th and Lex, and she was down at, she wasn't all the way down there, but she was like 30th and 7th, you know. So I ran across town, got her, and walked her back. But it was the most surreal moment because the subways had stopped, so everybody's up on the surface. The traffic was dead stop. No one was honking. No one was talking. There's just, the hustle and bustle was gone, but everybody was there. And everybody's just staring downtown. It was a very surreal. It was like something out of a movie.
I was here in L.A., but I grew up in Brooklyn, so
yeah.
I was at Ground Zero 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Now, you were there right after, right?
Yeah.
Did you think you'd be activated?
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, this was a colossal attack. The downtown looked like a movie set. It was, I've never seen anything like it. These monster buildings, and one of the World Trade Center, not the towers, but some of the surrounding buildings. It looked like Godzilla had taken his claw and just clawed out the front of the building, because one of the pieces from the Twin Tower had just fallen and cleaned out, just smashed through floors, and the whole front, the glass, was gone. And then that building, everybody was worried that building was going to collapse. And other buildings were structurally dangerous. So while we're on the rubble piles, we didn't know if these other buildings were collapsed. So they would sound an air horn if they thought it was going to collapse. That was the only time I actually came close to getting hurt. We were moving stuff, and someone, and when that sounded, it was the signal to get off the piles and run. And I was toward the bottom of the pile, and I was moving stuff, and all of a sudden they sounded the horn. So we all took off getting ready to run, because you don't know how long you have. Everybody's like this. And we thought that building could collapse. So we're running off the piles, and there was a generator with a big light on top for the night work, but it had a trailer hitch to it. And as I came around the corner, I ran into that, and my legs got pinched between the trailer hitch and all the bodies behind me. So all these people started stacking up on me and pushing. I thought my legs were going to break. And then eventually I just did a double elbow and got people off me enough that I could get over the thing. But anyway, we got out of there. Nobody was hurt, and the thing didn't collapse. But
thanks, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, please.
I want to thank my guest, Rob Riggle. His new movie, Dumb and Dumber, opens in theaters November 14th. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.